Good afternoon. My name is Matt Hudson. I'm a professor in the Department of Crop Sciences at the University of Illinois. I'm also the co-director of the Center for Digital Agriculture, which is a joint venture between the College of Agricultural, Consumer and Environmental Sciences, the Granger College of Engineering, and housed in the National Center for Supercomputer Applications at the University of Illinois. I'm going to tell you a few things about what I do a little bit, and mostly about the Center for Digital Agriculture and why we think that what CDA is doing is important and going to be important for the future of agriculture. I am a co-director of the Center for Digital Ag. My co-director with me is Vikram Adve. He's a professor in computer science. So I look after the agriculture side of things. He looks after the computer science and engineering side of stuff. And the problem with digital agriculture really is that anyone who does anything with computers that relates to agriculture often says that, well, I'm doing digital agriculture because, you know, that's a big deal right now. And different disciplines, different kinds of scientists and engineers have different ideas of what digital agriculture is. At Illinois, we've taken the wide view that pretty much everything that people think qualifies. So any kind of use of computer technology, particularly advanced computer technologies, automation, robotics, AI in agriculture counts as digital agriculture. And my lab works on stuff that most people don't immediately associate with digital agriculture. So we work on software and computer analysis methods to enhance breeding and genetics for crop breeders and genetic engineers. One of those projects is software that allows people using genome editing software, CRISPR implants, to target their edits more precisely. So again, it's digital and it's agriculture, but it's a little away from something you'd actually see on a farm. My colleague Girish Chowdhury, who is in the Department of Agricultural and Biological Engineering, and he's also the chief scientist for the Center for Digital Ag Autonomous Farm, he builds robots. And this is a little more like what people are getting excited about. A lot of farmers are getting excited about digital agriculture right now. He has a startup company that's producing these plastic waterproof robots that have all kinds of sensors on them. And one of the things that's easy for people to do but hard for robots to do is to count emerging corn. And this is a video showing that his robot can recognize the emerging corn seedlings and measure their size while going through a field with last year's stover still in it. And this is a particularly challenging task for a robot. This is one that they've got working extremely well. So they can count emerging seedlings, they can look for diseases. Another thing that they need to do, which is challenging from a computer point of view, is that the robot has to find its way through the field. And to do so, it kind of has to orient itself in 3 dimensions. And it also is good to be able to get an idea of when canopy closure occurs and what the canopy is looking like. And these 3D reconstructions allow us to get an idea of that. You can see that the rows here are a little large. They're research rows. So right now, these robots are more designed for breeding and research than they are for use in production fields. But as things get smaller and more efficient, as they usually do, I think we're going to see these in production fields as well. Here's an example of the robot. So it's moving through fields, but the electronics need to actually recognize the different parts of the plant. Here it's recognizing, counting, and measuring the ears on maturing corn plants. So again, that's an easy thing for people to do, particularly challenging thing for robots to do when they're on the ground on wheels and they can't move leaves out of the way and put a ruler up against the ear to measure it. So that's just 2 examples of digital agriculture as we see it currently. There's a lot of others. So from people doing modeling, people doing networking technology that's relevant for autonomous vehicles and agricultural implements, drones, robotics, any kind of programming tools that are needed for agriculture, databases, data retrieval services, you name it. And in order to get all this to work, we also need to educate people to be able to do this stuff and to get word out there so that more people understand what we're doing and why, and maybe get more people involved in it from companies and from farms and the ag supply chain, as well as just academics. So the center is divided into 4 main themes to try to make sense of all these disparate multidisciplinary researchers we have. Automation is robots, autonomous vehicles, drones, things like that. Data is the analysis of the data that comes off the robots, the autonomous vehicles, the drones, the satellites, the aircraft. And that involves, statistics and data analysis on a large scale, often with supercomputers over a period of days, but giving you answers like yield predictions and better ways to breed next year's crop. Crops and animals is about breeding next year's crop or next year's pigs, and monitoring animals, monitoring crops during development. People in agriculture is about rural communities, agricultural workers, and everyone in the ag supply chain. It's about welfare, health, rural networking, you name it. Workforce monitoring, economics. So everything that relates to the people side of things that requires social scientists, economists, people like that, rather than the programmers and engineers and geneticists and statisticians that work in most of the other areas. And you can see around the outside, we have industry partners, we have a digital farm I'm going to talk about, we have data collaboratory, which is basically a way for people to come and do their data analysis in the National Center for Supercomputer Applications and use their equipment. And we have a lot of extension, community engagement, and educational programs. The educational programs are around the middle. We have a master's degree in digital agriculture, 2 bachelor's degrees, which I'm not going to mention much more about, but one of them is in computer science and crop science. One of them is in computer science and animal science. And for the computer science and crop science program, Climate Corps is providing a fellowship to every student who takes that program. So that gives you some idea of just how much interest there is from industry in hiring people trained in digital agriculture. Illinois is really well positioned to capitalize on digital agriculture. We're good at engineering, we're good at agriculture, we're good at biology. We have the National Center for Supercomputer Applications. We have a research part with a bunch of ag startups that have been very successful. A lot of ag industry in and around Illinois. Chicago is an epicenter for world commodity trade. So a lot of things going for us there. We've also got a lot of experience in digital agriculture. So the thing on the right is a robot. It's like a 3-ton robot hanging from a huge gantry crane. And that's monitoring sorghum and corn during growth and development. It's obviously not very practical to use in a field. It's a research instrument. But this thing generates more data than the Hubble Space Telescope. It's in Maricopa, Arizona. The data from this goes from Arizona directly to Urbana, Illinois, where it's analyzed at the National Center for Supercomputer Applications. You can see their logo on the gantry arm there. And there's a whole bunch of projects involving digital agriculture in NCSA and elsewhere. And we're looking to do similar things to what we've been doing with the research community in a wider area involving industry and rural communities, as well as a wider range of researchers. It's a key time for digital agriculture because rural wireless is something that is increasingly common. We're getting 4G towers out in rural areas. We're working on ways to get broadband internet to more and more rural communities. Agriculture researchers are excited about computer science and engineering because it can do a lot for them in areas like breeding and monitoring. Government agencies are involved with digital ag and excited about the possibilities. We got a lot of startup companies. We got a lot of projects going on. We're starting to get grants in this area. Other universities are launching initiatives and centers too, but we think we have a number of advantages at Illinois. Really what we want this center to do is not so much to be the place where everyone does research, but to be a catalyst that brings together researchers and farmers and growers and people in the supply chain and industry. It sets up interactions between people who wouldn't otherwise have met so we can solve hard problems. And at the bottom line is we want to improve agricultural productivity with technical innovations and train people to do the next generation of this kind of stuff. One of the things we do is we give out seed funding to different projects in different areas to get research off the ground. These are relatively small amounts of money. We hope the projects that we start off are going to go and get federal or industry money and help grow the center. Another thing we've got is an autonomous farm. So this is now fully operational. It's a collaboration between Center for Digital Agriculture and the Department of Agriculture and Biological Engineering. It's a place to try out and test sensors, drones, robots, AI techniques for agriculture and things like that. It's rather a small farm. Most farmers won't be impressed by it. It's about 4.3 acres, but in terms of research, the size isn't as important as all the things we can do with it, because it's got all kinds of high throughput facilities. It's got internet, it's got buildings, it's got Wi-Fi, it's got buried cables, it's got buried sensors, a lot of stuff buried in the soil below tillage depth that allows us to monitor all kinds of drainage and soil conditions. It's got antennas, it's got a service building next to it. So these things are needed for us to try out new technologies that hopefully won't be needed to operate them in real production fields, but we need it to work out how to build the next generation of robots and drones and everything. Like I said, we've got 3.7 acres set up for the next 5 years. We can expand to 9.4 if needed. It's not a large farm. It's not going to grow a lot of corn. That's not the point. It's a research facility. Microsoft are providing money and equipment and time in their Azure cloud because they're very committed to working with academia in the digital agriculture domain, and they've chosen us as one of their partners. We have a Master's of Engineering degree in digital agriculture, which is planned. It takes us a long time to get a completely new degree program approved, so it's not ready yet. And I'm also going to mention something called the ICANN program, which is a way for people without a computer science degree to get into this kind of master's program. So if you have a computer science or similar engineering or physical sciences degree, where you've taken the right kind of courses in computing, you can just get admitted straight into our master's degree in digital ag. If you don't have a CS degree, but you know how to program, you can take an entrance exam. If you pass the entrance exam, you can go straight in. If you don't have the programming skills or a degree in the right subject, this is where this ICANN course comes in. So this is a completely online, self-paced course that gives you the basics of computer science so that you can come into a graduate level engineering program like the Masters of Engineering in Digital Agriculture. And then the Masters of Engineering itself is also going to be online, self-paced, and mostly consisting of courses that you can take whenever you want, although there will be some what we call synchronous courses where the professor is there at the same time as you are, but it's all distance learning. It can all be taken from anywhere. And as well as completing the degree program, you can also do little bits here and there if you don't want the full degree and get a certificate. So the timeline, we're hoping first students in fall 2021. We're not sure if we're going to make that because COVID's delaying a lot of things, but hopefully before long we'll have students doing the master's degree. We have a website, digitalag.illinois.edu. This is our main portal for information about the center. Please check it out. If we have new information on new grants, new projects, new degree announcements, they'll be there. We have a number of external grants, some of which we've provisionally heard are going to get funded. We're not allowed to talk about them yet because there is a press embargo, but expect good news on center growing in the near future. We have a lot of people directly involved with administering the center. Lisa Yanello on the bottom right was awesome, but she's been reassigned by NCSA to a different project. We've got a new secretary who's also awesome, Pam Duke, but all these other people are still involved. And I'd like to thank all of them and the entire CDA team, all the researchers that have been involved, awful lot of people who've helped us get this off the ground. So thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been useful to some of you. And I am going to sign off and let you get on with all your other important work. So thank you very much, and I will hopefully see some of you soon.